just glad you, all right, I have a thumbs up. So we will begin our work session, which is in preparation for our meeting, which will be the recess meeting and the last meeting for September 20th. And I'm sure you will all be delighted to know I don't have any kind of presentations. We've kind of circled on all of our topics off and on over the last few months, and so I thought I would give us a rest and we'll just go with our agenda, which actually has become a little shorter because we had a couple things on the agenda that got pulled, and we'll wait till next time around. So if everybody's got lunch plans, they'll be able to make them very easily.
Or if you're headed to LSU, you can get an early start.
That's exactly right. Although Alderman Rupp wants to mention tailgate for high school.
So October 7th, the Starkville game at Starkville High, the mayor and I are going to rent the tailgate tent. They have that now in the end zone, and it'll be for the aldermen and a guest. I think we can have 16.
Okay, fine.
We can get more in there.
Okay.
But if you're going to the game October 7th, we'll have a tailgate tent. You can hang out there, and there'll be refreshments there. And anyway, I thought we could enjoy the game as a city.
7 o'clock.
No,
Well, I mean,
the
game's-
tailgate.
The game's at 7, right?
I think what is October?
Yeah.
Yeah, back at 7.
Yeah, they're at 7
The
o'clock, so a little bit, before
Six-ish.
that. Yeah, say somewhere between 6 and 7, should be good. Be fun.
Six-
So I'll
6-ish for
circle
me,
back with you to
6:30,
see
so.
if you're bringing guests or not. If not, then we
Yeah,
can.
we'll work it out, it'll be fun. Have a little camaraderie there and watch Starkville win.
Are we supposed to work on our touchdown dances in the meantime?
We can do
You're in
that.
charge of the pom-poms and the cheerleading outfits.
That's sexist.
Yes, it was. We'll let Alderman Vaughn be in charge of that.
Mike Brooks is in charge of the pom-poms and the cheerleading outfits.
All right, we also have, they're doing a city tailgate event, and that's on October the 7th. So the city's gonna participate. We're gonna get if you all recall, they had a citywide tailgate a number of years ago. I think COVID blew it out, so we're starting back with that. And the partnership is putting together one for Main Street, so we'll have an opportunity to have a little tailgating downtown, and then we'll have an opportunity to do some tailgating at the ball game. So
Pace yourself.
Department, that's right. Department heads are putting all that together, so we'll have some fun. That'd be great. Anybody have anything else agenda-wise or announcement-wise? So we'll make those announcements again at the board meeting. So, all righty. The first item we have is a couple of sets of minutes that Mr. Latimer, I believe, has looked at, and they're good to go according to you.
They are.
All right. So with no objection, consent for those. I'll have some new employee introductions. Is Mr. Ashford hiding around here somewhere? No? Okay. Well, he enjoyed his vacation so much, he took another day off, I guess. But we'll have some new employee introductions. Citizens' comments, I'm sure the same. Public appearances, we have none this time. We have one public hearing, which will be the second public hearing in consideration of amending the Unified Development Code. Mr. Howland, do you have anything you'd like to add to it? Have we had any comments from anybody?
There have been no comments or changes since the last public hearing.
Okay, and no questions. And the thing of note on there that's new, I mean, you made some modifications, some tweaks and that sort of thing based on operations and, things that you've noticed and Scrivener's errors and those kinds of things.
Yep.
But we do have one new piece of it that, Joel, can you pull that up?
Yes, ma'am.
It's going to be for boarding up of dilapidated structures. And we haven't had requirements in the past for that. This does not distinguish between residential and commercial, which is something that we did some research, Sting did some research on it, and so he's put that language together. We have to rotate it there first. He's put together some language that reflects the need to take houses that have been burned or whatever it is and make them safe. So where is that? It's going to be near the very end of Daniel's, at the very end, actually.
Just the last page.
Yeah, it's the last page. So it's 17.7, I think it is.
You say just for residential, not commercial?
No, it's for both. It is for both. But what I was trying to convey is that we saw a lot for residential in other cities when we were looking it up, but this goes to both. Steen, do you have anything you want to add about this in the language?
No,
that
unless there's questions.
Yeah, that you pulled together. So It's always problematic when you have a new regulation, and this one is new. So we'll see, we may end up tweaking it some, but for starters, this keeps people from allowing it to be open. You have a set period of time when you've got to put it back together again, let's say, and you come get a permit to do it, so we're aware of it. So it's just an attempt to try to reduce the dilapidated structures and locate the dilapidated structures and that sort of thing. So anyway.
So it would be triggered by complaints or observation by code compliance, that sort of thing?
Yeah. Anytime we're out and about and see it, or if you know from a fire, for example, if you've got one that is compromised by that, then there's things that are going to have to happen, but it may just be a temporary boarding up opportunity. But boarding is intended to be temporary,
Right.
and not a permanent
Right.
fix.
Right.
And we've got some structures around town that are
We
falling
do.
in that category, so it's time for us to do something about it. So, and that may be a question that comes up, Chris, in terms of grandfathering
Yep.
things.
Okay.
So we may want to look at that, but I just want to make sure everybody was aware of it, so that if you get questions about it, you'll be able to know what it is. All right, the next one is consideration of interlocal College View Connector Agreement with MSU, and Mr. Latimer's been working on that one. This is.
Yeah, this is something you guys have already approved.
Yes.
And so we sent the interlocal down to the AG for AG blessing, and the AG sent it back, and so they wanted a couple more statutory authority citations on MSU's side. So MSU has made that, we've given it another tweak, and so this is just a kind of a pro forma re-rack
Okay.
at the request of the AG.
Okay, so consent for that one? Anyone? Okay, all right. Under board business, this is usually pro forma as well. These are the approval by each one of these entities on the 2% budget, which they have to submit to the board. First is going to be the Student Association with their 2%, then OCEDA, and then BCC. So we have in the past done consent on those. Anyone have any issues with doing that? Okay, consent on those three. And those are all in your packet too for your perusal. And this is proceeding with an RFQ for a financial advisor. And Alderman Cisco, would you like to take this one for?
Sure. We have several bonds that we've teed up for issuance this year. And as part of that bonding process, there's always a variety of professionals that are engaged. We'll use a bond counsel in addition to Mr. Latimer. We typically will use a financial advisor, and then we will potentially use an underwriter or do a competitive bid process for the actual issuance of the bonds. So this RFQ targets that middle professional, the financial advisor. We have the street bonds that we've talked about. We have revenue bonds with water and sewer. We have a TIF bond for Garin that will no doubt be coming up in a year or so. We have another bond issuance a little later in the agenda dealing with parks. So we have a lot, and because we have so much in a relatively short period of time in city world, 12 to 18 months, it makes sense to have one person named who's familiar with the city, who's familiar with what we've done with other bonding, and just keeps us on track, make sure we're smart about how we actually go through the issuance of the bonds, that we don't overextend ourselves.
Is this something you pay like an attorney by the hour, or is this something just
With
part-time?
bonds, almost everything is a percentage of, and it
just-
comes from the
And
proceeds.
to tag that, so the request for qualifications that we'll get back are not fee-based at this time. It's based totally on qualifications, and then you guys will decide who you want to negotiate with, and then you can negotiate that rate and price during the negotiation phase.
And we can negotiate the term as well, and I would say at 2 years with maybe an option to extend it for a third to get us through this term.
This term.
Well, that would get us through the end of this
Yeah,
term,
So
yeah.
it would be the end of this
Yeah.
board's term, so, okay.
Officer Strong.
Yes, sir.
Is, and just kind of segues, or go along with this, in the issuance of, or let's say, we choose the bond counsel or bond people that help us do bonds, and then we go ahead and we issue or approve the issuance of $50 million worth of bonds. That doesn't then mean that we necessarily issue $50 million.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
any specific project that comes before the city would have to be approved by board resolution.
Exactly.
to be able to pay for the bond.
Yes, we may authorize, much like we did with the street bonds, we authorized 10, and this first series, we're going to issue 5. So 15 would be sort of a cap without coming back to the board, and it would happen in one or more series.
Allows the clock to tick as well, so you can be done with that.
Yep.
Okay, so do we have any issues with proceeding with an RFQ? Anyone, any consent on that? Just, okay, consent. All right, the other one is the two-part piece of that Alderman Beatty just alluded to, is the principal amount up to 15 million, which certainly doesn't mean we would authorize that or issue that, but that's your authorization, and the one follows is to authorize the engagement of professionals to assist with that. So those two kind of travel together. Any concerns, issues, you want to discuss it? This is for us to be able to move forward with McKee, Needmore, Moncrief, J.L. King, all those park plans that we've got sitting, just waiting for
Money.
and execution, and planning and execution, so.
And the $15 million is based on, it's based on the Phase 1 improvements at the various parks. It hopefully would cover that. And if it allows for any of the Phase 2 improvements at the parks, we could move into that. It's also a number that we could potentially finance with the 1%, 2% funds that we receive. When we issued the Cornerstone bonds, we did projections, and as per usual, we were conservative in our revenue projections, and so we find ourselves now in a position of being able to fund some additional debt with those funds.
All these general obligation bonds.
They are technically general obligation bonds, but they are guaranteed by special levy.
So how much millage do we have to such bond? I mean, it's got this general fund stuff that pays the bond debt, right?
Well, this will come from the 1% and 2% funds, so it won't be, unless things just go to hell in a handbasket, we won't be looking to the general fund to supplement this. It would just be the 1%, 2%.
Falling off, has that been paid for with special taxes that have been done?
The parks bonds?
Well, some of the stuff that it's gonna come off and basically allow us to go back in. This is
No, we just have more revenue than we anticipated, so that's where the additional monies come in. So nothing has fallen off.
More 1%, 2% revenue.
So there's no millage associated with this.
Okay. Any discussion, any thoughts on it? Anybody willing to go consent?
Yay.
Betcha. All right, so it will be consent for those. All right, Mr. Howell, you're up again, and I would love for us to see this as a consent opportunity, although I think that you have said otherwise, Alderman Rupp, but this is, we've gone back and forth on Country Club Estates for years and years and years and years. And I think we've reached a point now where we have something that will resolve it, and they can proceed, and we can be out of this particular phase of country. Actually, this is the last phase. So, yes, if you'd like to, Mr. Havlin, go ahead.
Yes, this was presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission on Tuesday night. They did have some discussions about the hot topics on it, and at the end of the discussion, they did vote unanimously to approve it.
Okay, and so it is, as we all know, stormwater is an issue, but we have addressed it. Mr. Jones and his team have addressed it to I think, the best of everybody's ability. And so it would be nice to have this one over and done with, so.
And there are 2 conditions that were recommended for approval. One is about the lots that back up to the detention, about their finished floor elevation being 1 foot above any street that it touches. And
Okay.
the other one is about revising the covenants before the meeting.
Okay, all right, but those covenants they've been addressed and revised, right?
To my satisfaction.
Yes, Mr. Latimer is happy with that, so.
Council, do we have any legal liability? I mean, we probably don't. I mean, there's always in the approve something like this, something happens, which houses, we approve, we don't approve. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, so it goes to some of the conversation we had the other day in the board meeting, executive session. But I'll just say in general, broad strokes, we've held them to the specifications of our ordinance. and they have complied pursuant to the city's ordinances at each phase of this project, because the ordinance has changed over the years, the stormwater ordinance. And so, I believe that we're in the best position we can be, because we've told them to follow the ordinance, they've arguably followed the ordinance. And so to hold up the project for an arbitrary reason, I think would put the city in a more negative light than going forward, given that they've complied. Yes, sir.
Anyone?
Yeah, so this is my neighborhood, and I don't want to put this on consent. I will not vote for this, but I understand the legal counsel's position, and I do not want to sway your votes on it. I think the city probably needs to move forward on it, but for those of us who live there, there is a lack of confidence in the past with the developer that, to the point where representing the neighbors, I feel I can't support it, but I'm not suggesting that any of you do the same. Does that make sense?
Eminently.
No.
So it will not go on
Put it in a nice
consent.
state.
What?
Put it in a good state.
It will not go on consent, but that is something that Mr. Havlin can present to us on Tuesday. We'll do-
I have no plans to filibuster this, stomp my feet. I will probably say a few things, much like I just said, that apparently no one understood. I'll probably repeat most of that.
I think we all understood it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Let's see, under engineering, we have, this is a selection of Garver as a preferred consultant. The group who analyzed the submissions determined that these folks were the most qualified to do this. This is for the $1,500,000 that we have received from the state for the extension of Hospital Road and Stark Road. So this is the planning, engineering work, and Garver was selected. So any issues with any of that? All right, consent? Okay, thank you. And then design services for Dalhoff Thomas Design for the Cornerstone Boulevard. This is the entrance, which I think is critical to tell who we are as you're coming into a massive project.
And where we are, I miss
And
it
where you are.
occasionally.
That's right, and where you are. So you're looking at landscaping and a sign and lighting. And I think that it's very important that that statement is made coming off the highway and as you enter the project. So this is, and DT is the ones who did the park in the first place, y'all. So this is a good flow, and it was negotiated by Mr. Williams very nicely. So wherever he is. So, good for that one? Okay, thank you. Claims docket, acceptance of the financials. Anything, Ms. Harden, that is of note on the financials? Okay, consent for that? Okay. Lowest and best bids for source of supply. This is our usual deal. So have we, I assume we're good with what we got?
We are.
Okay, all right, consent for that one. And then we need to renew our siren maintenance agreement with Precision.
Mayor, stuff in sirens inside cements are our responsibility, not the county.
Yes.
That's really late, the county would respond, right, to the email, right, let a couple of messages on, probably.
What did you?
I'll respond.
Was there something?
We got one side.
Oh, yes, well, Hull Road, I think it is.
Well, and one at, Woodcrest, and it was that.
Okay.
that corner.
I believe
I think-
Woodcrest has been
Repaired.
repaired.
Yeah.
And if y'all will let me know, I do the work orders to Precision Communications and send those in.
Well, and we're going to need to move the Hull Road one, so we're looking for grants. Apparently Hull Road is almost inaccessible, so we're looking for grants to move that to, somewhere that's easier to get to, so.
But serves the same area.
Oh, yes, yeah, serves the same area, and we're looking to add another one, obviously, the annexed territory, so, you know, grants that are out there for a couple of sirens would be, the ideal, so.
And you work through the county for that, is that what I understand from
No,
no? You work directly with me?
we're trying.
Okay,
And that's what we did in the past when we got the one for, Reed Road,
okay.
so.
The county's got one out there right now for a siren in the new annexation area at the volunteer fire station.
Okay.
And they got all the information about the upcoming grants. So I'm trying to tag in and mirror that one.
Okay.
Well, if they're successful, that would be really good, because that would give some coverage to the annexed area.
Right.
Because even though the volunteer station isn't in annexed area, it's not, is it?
Mhm.
I think it was, but it's just outside it, it would still give that cover, so that would be correct. Anyway, renewal of the maintenance agreement. Fire department, we have a reimbursable grant for rescue airbag kits. Anything you want to add to this, chief?
No, ma'am.
Okay, all right. Consent for that one? Okay. HR, we have hiring Mr. McCaskey as an assistant city planner. We had someone that we hired at the last board meeting, and unfortunately, he never made it to our doorstep and decided not to take the job. So Mr. McCaskey has been extraordinary in his service here with the city in the roles that he's taken on, from permit tech to move across, what's the formal name that he's serving right now? What's his formal position?
Community Development Administrator.
Community Development Administrator. And so, Mr. Haviland has convinced Mr. McCaskey that he has the skill set and the opportunity to mentor with him and take that role on. So I'm pretty excited about it for both Lyle and Mr. Haviland and us. I think it's a wonderful opportunity, so.
Will be replacing the other position.
Well, Mr. Ashford is taking a look at how we do that.
We're looking at kind of dividing out some of the roles that he's currently doing. So we're not gonna post it as of yet, we should come up with a plan.
Good with that? Okay. That's it. 100% reimbursable grant for the purchasing of a backup generator. Yes. So, I'm so excited about that. Yes, that's an easy consent, but it's also important, and I'll let Joel expand a little bit on that, because I do think it's good to know.
Yes, this will provide uninterrupted power to the City Hall data center, our network and phone system here at City Hall, and it branches throughout the city. But we have battery backup right now. It just doesn't last as long as we need it to during an extended outage, so this will give us truly uninterrupted power throughout longer outages. So it's going to be very useful, and we're really excited about it.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Yes, sir.
You've been working toward that for a while, haven't you?
That's
No?
right, that's right. We've been exploring several avenues, and Chief Yarborough actually informed me of this grant opportunity, and it happened fairly quickly, so we were really excited about the timing of that. So,
Yeah, no, that's fine. I was just wondering, how's it powered? Is it natural gas?
it's gonna be diesel.
Diesel power?
Yes, sir.
And hopefully we won't have to use it much, but when we do, it'll be there.
That's right.
So,
The grant that you may be referring to for the larger one that would run all of City Hall is still out there waiting to be funded.
It is, use, diesel, but natural gas, if you have we have a tornado, good storm. It takes out the city halls, electric lines, so it takes out the gas, everybody's backing up 3 gas stations down, that kind of thing, it would be diesel. Would natural gas, a lot of people put in these homes and
Right.
they'll get natural gas, is that line underground?
And we've weighed the pros and cons of both those. There are some strengths and weaknesses to both of those methods, and we think, because natural gas can be interrupted too eventually during a very extended outage. So we feel confident we can, acquire the diesel we need to keep this operational. We've consulted with our generator folks, and they seem to think that was the best option for
Those
us.
big generators outside those buildings on state campus, so those diesel or those natural gas?
I think there's a little bit of both out there.
So do we know how long it will run on a full load of diesel?
I don't have those numbers right here, but I can
Okay,
get you that
just curiosity
information.
question. Okay, all right, thank you. Anyway, I think that's great, so
Me
glad
too,
to have
thank
it.
you.
And under parks, we have 2 of much the same thing, but the logos one is for the turf field, which is already installed, the Jeffrey Simmons turf field at Sportsplex, and the other ones are for the logos in the turf fields at Cornerstone. So who knew turf and logos were so expensive?
But, no, I was saying the other thing, about what they were. That's just on one field at 32,000.
That's on the big flat field, that's on that big soccer field. But yeah, so, yeah, it's fabulous for both of them. We're excited about it. Yeah, truly. Okay, so consent for those items?
And those typically come with sponsorship relationships
Yes,
with
yes.
the people.
Well,
who-
that's something that costs.
Yes.
Storage,
All that costs.
Yeah, so yes. Thank you. Police, we have a 100% reimbursable grant for tactical equipment.
Yes, ma'am.
There you are, okay. Good for that, consent. And then a grant for the LPRs, which is the license plate recognition. consent for that one, and then for, what is this? This one's new to me. Are we selling or are we buying?
Buying.
We're buying, okay. So fair market value range for the vehicle. Consent for that one? Okay.
So we're gonna get a grant then for our LPR rate?
Yes.
Yeah. We need to, we have to buy another vehicle for that, or?
No, I don't think so. I think they go in the existing cars. Consideration for, under code enforcement, these are both locations that are in need of being declared as under 21-1911. And so we're moving forward with that for, the one on Fellowship Street was the burned location, and the other one, I think, is the one with bats in the roof, or not bats, but buzzards inside the attic, so. And this is just for calling for a public hearing, so consent for those? Okay, thank you. And then we have, and Mr. Smiley, you're gonna be up here, we have consideration of the Waste Pro contract for commercial garbage collection. So this is, Mr. Smiley has been concerned, and don't let me speak for you out of turn, so stop me if I misstate things. He has been concerned with our commercial garbage vehicles, which are high maintenance. We have constantly got, we've got 2 in the shop right now? We've got 1 in the shop right now. And so he's been very concerned about our ability to meet our commitments for our commercial garbage service. This is also the service that we provide that other people can shop for. Waste Pro has garbage service, Waste Management has garbage service. I think Golden Triangle has garbage service in town, all for commercial. And so while we have all residential because that's our ordinance, there have been, people have fallen off in the commercial garbage collection, and so it's become problematic for us to be able to manage our garbage collection in this regard. So this is an opportunity that Mr. Smiley has sought out, I think wisely so, to see if there's a way for us to have a contract with people who do it regularly and have the resource backup. Just from a philosophy standpoint, I have pretty much always thought that if the private sector can do it better than we can, then that's that's a good reason to at least look at the rationale or reasonableness of that approach. And so I gave the commercial dispatch from yesterday had an above-the-fold headline talking about the difficulty of getting garbage trucks in this day and age, and so that's kind of where we find ourselves. But this is a contract, Mr. Latimer has looked at it. Have you received the most recent?
That's right, and it accepted all our changes. We just don't have back the final figures and offer price for the trucks. So that's not a part of the contract that's before the board right now.
So what we would envisage is that this contract, Waste Pro will pick up commercial for us. And we will contract with them, and they will, with their backups, be able to meet our obligations, basically. And they'll do it for the same amount that we're doing it for right now. We have a couple of trucks that we can then dispose of, and we have cans that Waste Pro has agreed, not in writing yet, but in verbal communication and through email discussion, to purchase or to purchase from us in a phased approach. Because we have, how many cans do we have, Chris?
As far as on hand right now that they can purchase, we have 322 stock.
So we got a lot of cans. So they didn't want to bite off the whole thing in one chunk if they didn't have to. And so they said they would consider phasing the purchase of those. But they will remain in place where they are, because also providing 300 cans to customers would be problematic for anybody, because cans are also hard to come by, being metal and not necessarily available. So that's what this is about. And I wanted to, it's a potentially longer discussion. I think we have one employee who would be impacted by that, correct? Okay, but we have opportunities for him to be employed. So I know that's always a concern.
Where would the revenue that he was losing from this, where we gonna regain that revenue from?
Well, the cost associated with it, we were in a position to have to buy a new truck. And so all of those costs associated with that would offset the revenue that we would end up having from those
The cost savings for personnel, for repairs and maintenance, gas and oil, debt service on the trucks we have, plus debt service on the trucks that we're going to be buying.
That we would need to absolutely
So
need
we're,
to
so
buy.
we're really switching from parsing out how we're spending that money to consolidating it
Is it a
on
wash?
contracts. It's not exactly a wash, because one thing that we've become aware of is that our rates are too low for commercial services. But with the sale of the equipment and the bins and all of that, it's going to give us time to figure out what we need to do next, whether that is raise those commercial rates or just completely outsource the commercial piece of it.
Lead us off, we discussed this too
Sure,
tonight.
yeah, no, that's fine, I didn't expect it to be, but I wanted to make sure that there was an opportunity to have those questions and have Mr. Smiley available here if there are any other questions.
It's closer to a wash than I thought it would be, but it's not there.
Okay. All righty, utilities, Mr. is there, he is in the corner, okay. Renewal of the distribution insurance company, property casualty insurance, anything you want to,
This is just for the electric division.
okay, and it's the same folks that we have dealt with before, so.
Is that pretty much the sole source, or they made pick what that comes out that write that stuff, or what?
It's very specialized, and PIC is actually, is owned by the entities that use it. It's through TDPPA, and it's been around for a long
Kind of like the
time.
ML's comp or comp.
Right.
Just curious, what's the premium for this distribution?
It's included in the packet. It did go up a little bit this year, about 5%, but they are also reallocating about 20, our portion will be about $20,000 to $25,000 they're returning in profits to their members.
Some mutual
Co-op.
Co-op.
Especially a co-op, yes, sir.
And we did bid it out 5 years or so ago, so we haven't, I mean, this is not just a constant rollover of the same entity, so, these folks came in lower.
And they do a lot of the utilities in the TPA.
I'm from Park State, where we don't, towns don't own electric utility, and since just about Philadelphia South, everybody's either Energy or Mississippi Power Company, so I was curious.
Okay.
They also, just a side note too, Mayor, they help with our safety training
Okay.
as well. We do all of our safety on both the electric and the water side through DIC.
Okay.
So there's some incentives for maintaining a good, safe work environment.
Okay, good, thank you. Next item is Anita Vandenberg as a contractor, and you want to fill us in a little bit on why we're in
Yeah, our
need you right
director
now.
of finance is pursuing other opportunities. Today's actually his last day. And so we're proposing to bring on this Anita to help in the interim process until we can fill that position full-time. Anita recently retired from TVA as a regulatory analyst, so she's very familiar with the electric side of the books as well as all of her necessary reports that we have to fill out on a monthly, quarterly, and annual basis with TVA. We do also have Miss Amelia Montgomery, who's currently in that department, who's going to also take a lot of the day-to-day responsibilities, and there'll be a subsequent adjustment with her after the 30-day period.
Okay, and this is the same contract that we have with Mr. Kemp Senior, right?
Correct.
Okay, so
And
we're
can
all good with it?
I'd
Yes.
just like to say that you are fortunate beyond words to find somebody with that level of experience for that specialized a job here in Starkville.
She lives in Muscle Shoals. so-
But she's gonna be commuting, okay.
Working virtually and
Okay.
some in person.
You're still,
Yes.
you're still fortunate.
I am.
Consent for that one. We have a purchase of 18 manholes for stock inventory. Any issue with that? Consent?
Does that include the collars to raise them to street level?
I believe so. I
Does it?
believe all
Okay.
that's one
Okay.
component.
Mr. Burnett, on our street paving, we're gonna put those collars in to make sure that when they overlay, they don't overlay down to a man or.
Yes, sir. We try to find all those before overlaying and quantify, order them ahead of time.
Those contractors, he's gonna do that, it's increase, that's a perm.
It takes coordination on the front end, but it's doable and we plan to do that. Yes, sir.
Change order for Babylon Sewer Project. This is a small change order, it's an extension of time and a little bit
About
of.
$2,500.
Yeah, small.
Small, right, or
Minimum.
just some small plan changes in the project. And
Okay.
then the time is mostly due to materials going.
Okay, all right. Consent for that one? Okay. Lowest quote for pump automation controllers, all of those things that make your eyes cross. Consent for that one? All right, thank you. And then executing a work order from Fort County for streetlights along Eastleigh Boulevard, Old Mayhew, and adjacent areas. And that's part of our annex area, so I'm glad to see that we'll be doing some of those things that we were required to do as part of that
Do
annexation.
they do the installation, we do the installation on the spot?
They do the
They will do it.
installation, don't
They'll
they?
do
We,
it all.
they just charge us to put it.
They charge, and they have us a work order, what they project the amount to be, and we'll pay based on the final, but they're utilizing a lot of their existing poles. They have maps included in there that shows all the different.
We do a capital project out there, and we'll eventually put lights on them out, when they pull, will that be them doing that, us paying them back for it?
Yes.
That's their, so, they do it.
Those will be in the future phase, further out in the Clark Village, and then also up on, excuse me, on West Point Village at that station.
I like to do the lights, mainly, just expect the lights play out, and out to, well, not 40 minutes out, at least into that
Intersection.
Oh,
Yeah. All right, we have no executive session, so we're out here at 11:35. Everybody have a great weekend. Thank you so much.
Should have given you credit for, while you may have been sexist, you weren't ageist.